Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard Baphormedes deck profile for post-Minerva Rising. This was actually one of the promos you got for the sneak preview for the 8th Cardfight Vanguard booster set. It's really awesome how they're giving us these new grade 3s that can act as their own deck depending on the more generic playstyle you wanted to go for the deck. Since there aren't really any specific support cards for them, we got one for Keter Sanctuary. In the actual set 8 booster set, we got the Baphormedes Dark States promo for the actual entry. So with it, I wanted to make a deck that focuses on the more grade 3 playstyle that this deck is meant to do. With the more grade 3s you have in the soul, the more power up your Vanguard will become with more and more card abilities. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the ride deck, since the ride deck has to be pretty generic, I just went with any starter. So you can use the new Silver Thorn Assistant Ionella from the latest booster set, since it's just a Dark State starter. When wrote upon, if you want second, draw a card. Our grade 1 is Flaming Pony. When it's in your soul, you can bind this card and soul charge 2. Since our grade 3 Vanguard Baphormedes needs more grade 3s in the soul, having that soul charge 2 setup with a good majority of our cards in our deck being grade 3s can help for just the additional soul charge build up to get those grade 3s into the soul. Our grade 2, I chose Demonic Stone Statue Jewel Neil. When on the Vanguard circle, when an attack hits a Vanguard, it's soul charge 1. So you have grade 2 pressure with this card being able to soul charge 1. With this card added for that pressure, making it so your opponent will either want to block this attack so you don't get a soul charge off, or let it go through and then resolving your soul charge. So our grade 3 is Demonic Lord of Hades Blaze, Baphormedes, being the card in the ride deck and also still benefiting from getting grade 3s in the soul thanks to Persona riding. We are running 3 additional copies of this card in the actual deck as well. With this card, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, put 2 grade 3 rear guards in your soul, draw a card, and this unit gets plus 10,000 till the end of that battle for every grade 3 in your soul. This unit gets all the following according to the number of grade 3 cards in your soul. So with this card, if it's 3 or more, all your grade 3 units get plus 3,000, 5,000 shield and boost. So having that gives you some shield options in your hand to use additionally. 6 or more, when your opponent would call cards from their hand to the guard circle for the battle this unit attacked, they must call 3 or more at the same time. So with this, you have more of an option with your grade 3s, having more of a build-up for your soul to put even back row grade 3s, I would say, since it just says put 2 or more grade 3s into the soul. It doesn't have to be front row or anything to then have that pressure that your Vanguard would have, making it so your opponent has to guard 3 or more cards at the same time. Having that Flagberg related skill just makes it so they'll either let this attack go or you'll have a unit attack and hit for added pressure with your Vanguard. We have a couple other grade 3 rear guards that also build up with that pressure, but this one just helps being able to invest in your soul a lot with the grade 3s you set up on the field, making it so you have a draw to make up for those grade 3s and then just go from there. Still with the grade 3s, we run a good number of them in the deck. 4 copies of the new Record Break Dragon from set 8. When this unit is placed on rearguard from hand, you counterblast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 card with a different card name from the cards in your soul from among them, put it into your soul and shuffle your deck. So you just have the option to place a grade 3 that is not already in your soul with this card for just the cost of a counterblast. You don't use any soul blasting or counterblasting for your Vanguard, so you can invest all of it with the rest of your cards that you run in the deck. Record Break Dragon, just a great on place for the rearguard from hand, giving you more of a playstyle setup with this card and more grade 3s to use with your Baphormedes. The next grade 3 we run is our Execution Dragon, Vorpal Scythe Dragon. On rearguard once per turn, you can Soul Blast 2, choose one of your opponent's rearguards, and retire it. So you have a retire power thanks to this card, and when this unit attack hits, you may Soul Charge 2. So even more Soul Charge pressure with this card when it would attack against your opponent, but even just being able to retire your opponent's units means an investment with your Soul Blasting. You just want to make sure you may not Soul Blast any of the grade 3s, because those added powers are definitely needed for Baphormedes. So if you have any grade 0s, grade 1s, or grade 2s in your soul that you don't really need in there, you can Soul Blast them for a Vorpal Scythe Dragon skill. I also run 4 copies of Time Jarrett Dragon. When this unit is placed on rearguard, put a card from your hand into your soul and draw a card. So it just makes up for draw power by placing a grade 3 that you may have in your hand into your soul to give you an additional draw. You could draw into Sentinels, anything else, even other grade 3s that could extend your plays on the field, you name it. And then Time Jarrett Dragon just adds for the fact that it could be an invested grade 3 on the back row to be put into your soul thanks to your Baphormedes. More of the on pressure with your grade 3 units. I'm running 3 copies of Unbreakable Ice Pillar Jabina. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if your soul has 10 or more cards, counterblast 1, soul blast 1 to the end of that battle when your opponent will call And when end that battle, when your opponent would call cards from their hand to guard, they must call 2 or more times at the cards at the same time. So with this, it's just like your Vanguard, but just with 2 or more cards. So if your opponent is saving the Sentinel for your rear guard, if you get a trigger and give all effects to that rear guard, you have that additional attack and additional guard that your opponent will have to do on top of your Vanguard guard restriction that you have. You also have this additional grade 3 to rely on. The last of the grade 3s that I run in the deck, 2 copies of Heat Haze Acrobat Miroslava. If you want to run additional copies of this card, you can just drop some of the numbers of your other grade 3s or grade 2s in the deck. You can drop maybe Jabina to 2 copies, putting an additional copy of Miroslava in the deck, and maybe even dropping a copy of Vorpal Scythe Dragon. Or you can take out some of the grade 2 cards for additional copies of Miroslava. When it's placed on rear from hand during your main phase, +1, choose a card with a grade equal to or less than your Vanguard from your soul, put it into your hand. If you choose a card with the same card name as your Vanguard, call it to rear. If you did put a card into your hand, this unit gets plus 5,000 to end of turn. So you have the option for you just to be able to at least set up more cards on the field, but also recycle some of the other Persona rides using this card. For the grade 2s, we have a pretty low grade 2 count, just running 2 copies of Amazement Magician and 2 copies of Ultrasound Siri. When placed on rear, +1, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose a card from among them, put it into your soul, shuffle your deck, and if your soul has 4 more cards with different grades, draw cards. So you might not always get the draw, but if you have the ride deck still set up, you could have the grade 1, 2, and 3, and then an additional grade 3 from a soul charge to get the draw off of Ultrasound Siri. And the Amazement Magician, just every time it attacks, you may soul charge 1. If you want to increase the number of Miroslava, but keep your grade 3 count, you can take out the 2 Amazed Magicians for a 3rd and 4th copy of Miroslava. And then for the grade 1s, I run 2 copies of Friend of the Netherworld Ling. When it's placed on rear, look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Choose a card from among them, put it into your soul, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck. So more of your soul buildup with this card. But the last spot for the Sentinels are just 2 copies of Recusal Hate Dragon and 2 copies of Repelled Malice Dragon. If you have Elementaria Sanctitude, you can always put another copy of the card into the deck and replace with one of these. You could also run the latest Fire Regalia Fatale order. It is a grade 3 option. You can just drop one of your other grade 2 or grade 1 count cards for that order if you have to put it in the deck, giving you an additional option for a Persona ride with your Baphormedes. And then the trigger lineup, going for the critical pressure, we're running 4 copies of Connect Rampage Clen and 3 copies of Lively Breath Dragon. For the pressure that your Vanguard can provide with having the guard restriction, then just being able to get additional criticals thanks to it as well. I ran the front trigger over the draw. I just really like investing my back row grade 3s, then still having my grade 3s to attack on the rear guard, especially with some of them just providing immediate pressure after my Vanguard attacks if I get enough pillars to then attack with this card on top of a Persona ride and any other triggers I may have gotten. With the final triggers just being the heals, so 2 Caper Companion, 1 Holy Light Yufia, and 1 Iwanya for the additional heals with skills to have higher guard numbers. With our over trigger being Gamalgaheld, the earlier the game, the earlier the pressure you'll have for your Vanguards, plus 10,000 and additional critical. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy. I'll definitely be working on a deck profile for the grade 3 Keter Sanctuary promo light card we got from Minerva Rising as well. So look forward to it. And I hope you all enjoyed this deck profile also. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira Qualia out.